Hello everyone. In today's video, I am going to tell you about a scary locked room challenge where I am trapped with a ghost. I am terrified of ghosts and other creepy things like that. So let's just jump right into the video. As I walk through the door, I see a note that says, "Welcome." And then there was a lock on the door, which was really weird. So I walked further in, and I saw another note that said, "Welcome to your worst nightmare." It was really starting to freak me out because I hate creepy things, and I started to feel something strange in the room, like an evil presence. And I heard chains dragging metal moans. And that's when I saw him. This ghost with chains dragging himself closer and closer to me. He was trying to get my attention. I tried to run, but the door was locked. I couldn't get out. I was trapped. Then the ghost came up to me and started to drag me around the room, and we went over to a desk. There were some old books on it, and I opened one of them, and it was filled with dark magic spells. The ghost kept coming up to me and tapping me on the shoulder, and I swear he was getting more and more angry. He was shaking his chains. The links were coming apart, and he was moaning very loudly, like really aggressively. I was so scared. And then he dragged me over to a shelf, and there were some old dusty bottles on it. And I pulled one off the shelf, and it was filled with a black liquid. I don't know what it was, but it smelled horrible. And then he took the bottle from me and chugged it down. He drank it all in one gulp, and then he started to glow a bright green color. His chains were glowing too, and then he disappeared. So I ran to the door and started pounding on it, but it wouldn't open. I was trapped in the room with this ghost, and I didn't know what to do. I sat down on the floor and thought, how did I get here? How do I escape? What do I do? And that's when I remembered. When I first walked into the room, I had seen a note that said, "Welcome," and then another one that said, "Welcome to your worst nightmare." So I thought, maybe these notes are clues. Maybe they're trying to tell me something. So I looked around the room, and I noticed that there were two paintings on the walls. One of them was a picture of a man and a woman standing in front of a house. The other painting was a picture of a graveyard. So I thought, maybe the clues are in these paintings. So I walked over to the first painting, and I looked at the man and the woman. They were dressed in old-fashioned clothes like it was the 1800s, and then I looked at the second painting again, the graveyard, and I noticed that the man in the painting was the same man in the other painting. But in this painting, the man was laying in a coffin, and there was a date above the coffin that said, "Rest in peace, 1889. So I thought, maybe the ghost wants me to know that this man died here in the house. Maybe he wants me to help him or something. And then I looked at the chains dragging on the floor, and I realized that the ghost wasn't making those chains. They were attached to the floor. They were part of the house. And then I thought, maybe this house was built on top of a grave. Maybe that's why the ghost is here. So I got down on my hands and knees and started looking around the room, and I found a loose floorboard. So I pried it up, and underneath the floorboard, I found a skeleton wearing shackles. And then I realized that this was the ghost's grave. That's why he was here. He was trapped underneath the house. So I took the skeleton and I laid it down on the table. And then I thought, maybe I should say a prayer or something. Maybe that will help the ghost rest in peace. So I bowed my head and I said a little prayer. And then I felt something strange happen, like a weight was lifted from my shoulders. I don't know how to explain it, but then I heard the chains dragging again, and I looked over and I saw the ghost. He was glowing now. He wasn't mad anymore, and he was smiling at me. And then he floated up to the painting of the house, and he put his hand on the glass, and it was like a mirror. And I saw a reflection of the house behind me. And I realized that the ghost was showing me where he wanted me to go. He wanted me to go outside. So I ran to the door and flung it open, and I stepped outside. I was in the garden of the house. And then I turned around and I looked back at the room, and it was gone. It was like it was never even there. And then I thought, wow, I just experienced a ghost. Like I'm not even scared anymore. It was so crazy. It was like something out of a horror movie. And then I thought, how did I get here? Who invited me to this creepy house? And then I remembered. When I was walking down the street, I saw a sign that said, "Beware of dog." And underneath the sign, it said, "Enter if you dare." And then I thought, well, it's just a sign. It's not real. So I walked past it, and I opened the door and I entered the house. But now I realized that the sign wasn't just a sign. It was a warning. It was telling me to be careful because there was danger inside the house. So I walked back down the street and I looked around, and I couldn't find the house anywhere. It was like it was hidden or something. And then I thought, how am I ever gonna find this place again? And then I remembered, when I walked in the door, there was a note that said, "Welcome." So I wrote down, "Welcome" on a piece of paper, and I started walking down the street again, and I looked around until I saw the house. And it was right there in front of me. And then I thought, maybe I need to write down the answer to the question, what would you do if you found yourself locked in a room with a ghost? Because that's what my experience was like. I was locked in a room with a ghost. So I wrote down, I would try to escape. And then I walked inside the house again and gave the note to the person at the desk. And they said, "Thank you. You are our 50th contestant. Would you like a prize?" And I said, "Sure." And they handed me a box that said, "Do not open until you reach home." So I took the box and I left the house and I went home. And when I opened the box, it was filled with money. Like, oh my gosh, I won. I didn't think I was gonna win anything, but I won $500. It was so exciting. And then I thought, maybe this whole thing was just a dream or something. Like it was all in my head. But when I looked at my bank account, I saw that I had $500 deposited into my account. It was real. It wasn't a dream. I really won. And then I thought, how am I ever gonna forget this experience? Like being trapped in a locked room with a ghost. It was so scary. But then I thought, maybe I should make a video about it and share it with the world. And that's what I'm doing right now. And if you want to watch more of my ghost videos, just click on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching.